is they say, Dr. Goins, how can I get more motivated to finish my dissertation? And oftentimes when they ask me that question, I have to pause because what I've come to learn is that motivation is not the main thing that you're going to need to finish your dissertation. And in today's episode of From ABD to PhD show, we're going to talk about all things motivation and why motivation alone is not enough to finish the dissertation process. My name is Dr. Ramon Goings, and I'm founder of Done Dissertation and host of the show From ABD to PhD show, where we're talking about all things dissertation related. I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. This episode is sponsored by the Done Dissertation Velocity Coaching Program. It is a coaching experience with the goal to help you write and defend your dissertation in record time. So if you're someone who needs the motivation, but also needs the strategy and the support in place to execute a plan, then we are the right place for you. So you can go to www.velocitydissertation.com to learn more about our program and apply to work with us. And lastly, before we get into the content, I want to say thank you so much to our partner, the HBCU Smart TV. It's a phenomenal programming and tool that you can use and have access to. And what they do is they have a lot of content on their platform that supports folks at the early stages of life. So they have children's programming, they have programming related to the African American community and the HBCU community, as well as a lot of great other content on there. And they support Done Dissertation by streaming our content that you all are watching today. So please make sure you go support. You can visit and learn more about them at hbcusmarttv.com. Again, it's www.hbcusmarttv.com and learn more about what they do. I want to say thanks so much to HBCU Smart TV. And so in today's episode, I want to talk about this idea around motivation. Because look, it's nothing to be said that, as you're going through this process, you got to be ready to finish, right? That is expected. But what's going to happen as you start to go through this journey is that you quickly will realize that sometimes motivation is not enough. And essentially, motivation without action is simply just motivation. It doesn't get you any closer to the finish line of whatever task you're trying to do. Whether it's a dissertation, whether that's trying to run a marathon, whatever it is, you being motivated is only going to take you so far. And we know that for people who are looking to finish their dissertations, action has to go behind that motivation. And here's an analogy that I would give to kind of think about the motivation aspect and how it can leave you sometimes with not enough to finish. Think about a campfire, for instance, right? I would give the relationship between motivation is essentially the accelerant that will help light the flame, right? So if you have your accelerant, you're able to light, your wood, your fire gets to start. But imagine you're trying to do that and try to light up your logs and to create this fire, and you don't have any logs or any of the essential other items needed to make the fire burn. So essentially what ends up happening is that motivation gives you part of the puzzle, but oftentimes you're missing some of the most important part, and that's the materials you need to complete the task outside of just motivation. And so I want to get into this because I want you all to start having that foundation of the things you might need to ensure that you take that motivation you might get even from an episode like this and then put it into action. Because the reason why we do this content and why I'm doing this and spending this time doing this is because we want to help more people get through the process. And we know not everyone is going to want to work with us or able to work with us in our programming, right? And so we do this content to give you all the strategy along with the motivation to finish your process. And so with that said, we're going to jump into the material for today. And first things first, the reason why motivation is not enough to finish is because along with motivation, you're going to need a process or some sort of system to follow. We tell students all the time in our program, the way you kind of get through the dissertation process is by bringing forth new knowledge, right? But sometimes as a student, when you're trying to couple like creating this new knowledge with also trying to figure out how to navigate the process, what are you supposed to do? How do you interact with the chair? All these things can make the act of just sitting down to write so frustrating. And for many folks, they might just say, forget it. I've moved on. I'm not doing it. But sometimes you can get the motivation, right? You might be highly motivated to finish. Like, you have a job promotion. There's something on the line for you. Many of our clients have something on the line for them. Is the reason why they want to make a move and do something now. But if you don't task that with also having a process that you understand on how to navigate this thing it becomes really hard to do this multitask. And we found from supporting so many doctoral students that we had in our program that you have to have a process in place to get through the dissertation. And for many folks, we've created through our curriculum and everything that we offer in our programming as a way to think through that, because we just know we want to be able to take the thought process that goes into, oh my God, how do I navigate this? How do I interact with my chair? How do I prepare for the meetings with my chair? What do I do when they give me feedback? All these things that just keep us up late at night. Our job at Done Dissertation is to remove those barriers from you so that you can focus on the knowledge creation. Because that's the part as a writer is the most interesting, but the thing that you want to spend your time doing, because that is what gets you done. And again, just being motivated to do the work doesn't help if when you go to sit down to write, you're thinking about all these other things and you have no process to follow. Even something as simple as, for many of our clients, or even folks when we go give talks, the number one place that doctoral students struggle is the literature review. But most times when I ask doctoral students about how they're thinking about writing a literature review, they have no system in place to even think through approaching that. That's why in our programming, in our curriculum, we actually gave our clients, we have a whole strategy on how to develop and write literature reviews. That's something I actually like to do as a writer. Like that's one of my specialties, right? I like to write literature reviews. They're interesting to me, the way how you could tell stories and a narrative based on the literature that you read. So I find it very, very intriguing on how to do that, right? But not many folks do. And so we know that's an area of concern. And so you have to, again, you might be motivated to do the work, but because you have no process or strategy, it may seem overwhelming. And with that, I know some of you all, might be trying to figure out, how do I engage in the writing? Like, how do I do that? And that's why we created a training called Elevate Your Academic Writing, because we knew that one of the places where doctoral students struggle before they start working with us is the academic writing component, because they just don't have a process and a system in order to improve their academic writing. So if you're someone that might need that, you can get this complimentary training. You can scan the QR code here on your screen, or you can go to www.thedonedissertation.com/elevate. If you go there, it'll take you right to our training. You can go ahead and download it, watch it, consume it, about 45 minutes. If you apply the strategies, we have our Done Dissertation synthesizing formula. If you apply this strategy, you will vastly elevate your academic writing. And this is something that I did in my own journey, being a struggling academic writer, to figuring things out, to being highly published, to what we have taught hundreds of clients that come through our programming and through our partnerships with universities. So again, if you want access to that free training, feel free to grab it here on the screen through the QR code or the link below. But again, we know that motivation is not it. That's why we try to provide the training to give you systems and strategies in order to reach the goal that you're trying to reach. But for many of folks, right, it gets beyond just the system and the strategy in the process, if you will. For many doctoral students, the way motivation is not enough for you to finish is because not only do you not have a process to follow, but even when you have a process to follow, you might feel more motivated. But then secondly, you have to have a plan. Flat out, you need a plan. Just imagine one of our former clients, shout out to Dr. Miller, he said during an interview we did, he was like, how can I go along a journey that I don't know where I'm going to go without a guide to help me get along the way? And that resonated with me because it's something that you really have to consider as you're thinking about navigating this process. It's like, imagine driving a car, right? And you have to go to some place that you've never been before. And you get in a car, you start it up, you pull out your driveway, you get to the first street outside your house, you turn right, and you just try to figure it out from there. Literally, you have no GPS, you have nothing. So it's hard. Like, you're motivated to get to that house, right? But you have no GPS, you have no roadmap to get there, you have no plan to get there. You have to have that, because what we know is that, we're all people. We plan for vacations, we plan for the holidays, but why don't we approach our dissertation in the same way? Sometimes we don't have a plan, or sometimes our plan is so not even, the word's not unorganized I'm looking for, but sometimes our plan is underdeveloped in a way that we can't see our next steps because we're so focused on, the ultimate goal. And that's the plan. Like, oh, I'm just going to write my dissertation. That's the goal. Or I'm going to write my proposal. But we don't backwards map to, oh, let me consider, when is the deadline for, or when's the last time this semester that I can defend my proposal or final dissertation? Okay. If that's a certain date, let's say, for instance, that date is April 15th. Oh, well, how long does a committee need to review my document? Oh, they need a month. All right, now we're backwards mapping to March 15th. All right, before my committee gets it, my chair's going to run a review this thing, and we might have a back and forth. They typically take a little while. That might be another month. That puts us at February 15th. Now, if you think about it, you really have to start mapping things out and having a plan to have things done by February 15th so that the chair has time to review, so the committee has time to review, so do you have time to get to a defense. That stuff is all part of the plan. But oftentimes we're just saying, oh, I'm going to write chapter 3, or I'm going to write chapter 2, or I'm just going to submit my whole dissertation. But without that roadmap and plan, it gets really hard to make things happen. And this is why motivation is not enough. And because we understand that, we created a training as well. In addition to improving your writing, we have another training called Design Your Done Dissertation, because we thought like, hey, the first things first, if you're trying to finish your dissertation, you have to have a plan, because it's hard to turn that motivation into action if you don't have a plan in what you're trying to do. And so if you're someone that's interested in learning more about that, you can grab that training. It's called Design Your Done Dissertation. It's a multi-step training. It has a workbook attached with it that walks you step by step through creating your plan. And what you can do from this is actually take the plan and bring it to your chair to have conversations. Again, these are the things that start turning what you're doing into action, because you can now come to your chair with a plan. You all can talk about the plan, and then you roll from there. But a lot of times, if you don't have a plan, you have nowhere to go. And then it's hard to communicate those ideas to a dissertation chair on where you should go in your process. And so, again, we created this training called Design Your Done Dissertation with the goal to help you create that plan that gets you done, and at least get you a starting point to having those conversations, to having that roadmap of when chapters will be due, when you're going to submit it to your friend for, editorial review. All those things start to add up, and it needs to be part of your plan. But sometimes we don't think about the plan until it's too late. And what we don't want at Done Dissertation is for you all to not have a plan, because we want you all to do the impactful work that you got into your doctoral program for in the first place. And so if any of this is resonating, let me know in the comments. And if you're watching this on HBCU Smart TV, please feel free to reach out to us on social media. We'd love to hear from you all and see what your thoughts are about this episode and things that you might be taking away from the insights provided today. Because we just know we want people to get out the process, and we know just motivation is not the thing that will get you there. It's helpful though, but it's not the thing that tips you over from that vantage point. And so as you've been watching this, if you're thinking about your own journey and recognize like, hey, I need a system, I need some support, and I need a strategy, you may consider looking into options like Done Dissertation or other coaches out there, so that coaching programs, so that you can get the support that you need. Because there's no sense of doing this thing alone, trying to figure it out, and you have no plan in place and no system. And so with that, again, in today's episode, we're talking about all things about why motivation isn't enough to finish your dissertation. And the last point I want to make for today is that motivation is not enough, because along with motivation, following a process, having a plan, is that many ways you're going to need support. In a previous episode, I talked about how, having support from family is important, right? That's a really big piece of this thing. But you have to recognize that your support might look different depending on what's happening in your life circumstances. Like, we know you all have a lot of things going on. Some of you all are taking on new positions. Some of you all are dealing with families. Some of you all are trying to manage all these things, and you're going to need some support and infrastructure to get out of the process. So some of those supports might look like childcare, might look like, having, time away from work, taking vacation time to write your dissertation. For some of us, it might look like being in a more structured environment so that you have like-minded scholars that you can bounce ideas off of and hear from other people who are ahead of you in the journey. Having a supportive structure where people can look at your work because you're not getting that feedback from your chair and committee. All those types of things are really important. And that's what we do for our clients in our Velocity coaching program, because we just know that motivation is not enough. You got to have the strategy, you got to have a plan, you got to have a system, and you got to have support to do these things. And support is also not around just writing, all right? Sometimes we think about support, we think about, oh, I need an editor, or I need someone to look at my writing. Support sometimes is navigating the politics of the institution. Support might look like, hey, I have a situation, my chair is unresponsive, or my chair left the institution. What do I do? How do I think through finding a new chair? What should that process look like? These are things that we often talk about. And we've had recent conversations in our program about with our clients who are navigating these issues. So sometimes it's not just about the writing. And sometimes we get so laser focused on this process just being about the writing that we forget about the other aspects. And our formula at Done Dissertation is the people plus the process equals the product. And oftentimes when we think about only having writing issues is we're thinking about on the other side of the equal signs about the product. But we have people involved, chair and committee, our family, friends, etc. We have a process that we have to understand, knowing when the deadlines are to actually defend your dissertation and then backwards mapping. Those things become very important to have a great product. But oftentimes we're so laser focused on the product, we forget all of that and we lose sight as a result. And this is why support becomes very important. And what we do in our Velocity coaching program is provide that infrastructure and support that a doctoral student could leverage and use in order to get through the process. So if you're someone that like, hey, I need help, I need support, I would welcome you to apply to the Done Dissertation Velocity Group Coaching Program. We are a community of like-minded scholars who have the whole goal of finishing a dissertation, but positioning themselves in a way that they can leverage that doctorate after they finish. So when we come in our program, not only are we supporting you all to work through your dissertation, but we're actually mentoring you all to prepare through our professional development that we provide to get ready for life after the process, because there is going to be a life after this thing. And why not prepare for that as well as write your dissertation? And so that's what we do in our program. And so if you're someone who's interested in trying to do that and being in that type of community, I would welcome you to apply to work with us. You can go to www.velocitydissertation.com. And again, it's www.velocitydissertation.com to learn more about our program. And if you, for instance, have any questions, feel free to shoot us a message wherever you could, follow us on social media. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you know when new content from us comes out. And with that said, feel free, if you have questions, please let me know, drop it in the comments. If you're someone who, might not be ready for coaching quite yet, but looking to get some support around academic writing, then I would invite you to grab our free training. It's called Elevate Your Academic Writing. And if you want access to that, if you're, you can go to and scan the QR code here on your screen. And I know folks might be watching, may just have quick access to their cell phone. So if you're interested in that, to get the link, you can just text hashtag Elevate, ELVATE, to 301-701-2466. And you'll get a reply back from me with the link. And so you can have access to the training as well. And on our text message community, it is us that respond. Like we do get the messages. So you happen to message, I do respond. We do send weekly affirmations out to our text message community. We have a lot of different things going on, and we just want to make sure that you all are getting what you need to get to that finish line. And so with that said, we look forward to talking with you all soon. We look forward to seeing you all having a done dissertation. And please, please, please don't let these things hold you up and let motivation be the only thing that you're looking for in this process. Because as I mentioned, motivation is just not enough. And before I dip out of here, I just got to give a shout out real quick to HBCU Smart TV. Platform has been supporting what we've been doing from the ABD to PhD show. So if you're interested in learning more about what they have going on, please go to hbcusmarttv.com, or if you have a Roku device, you can actually just type in HBCU Smart TV and you can learn more about their platform right from there and download their app. So with that said, I hope you all have a great, great week. Let's get these dissertations done. Remember, motivation is not enough to finish. And so get that plan in place, get that process that you're going to follow, and get the support that you need to finish so that I can celebrate you having a done dissertation. So until next time, I hope to see you soon. Take care.